Hey
Hey, Prashant.
Veekshith, how are you?
All good. How are you? I'm in V1
Good man.
phase.
So in
Yeah, well,
V1 now, awesome.
yes,
So we
V1.
should chat about that as well, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Okay, excellent. I don't think Yusuf has that in the questions he has sent me, but
He's not.
let's chat about that for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. So, folks, glad to have you on board. We are doing the Upeka Value SaaS session. We have Veekshith Rai here with us, and he's a founder of Finly. We'll talk about his journey, and he'll be sharing a lot. I first met them quite a few years ago, and one of the things that always struck me is how driven they've been and how deeply they understand their target market. And that's one of the things that we've always found, that founders who understand the target market do a lot better. And Veekshit and Vivek, his co-founder, have been among the best in terms of having an enormous number of conversations with all kinds of stakeholders, so that they get that deep understanding of the market, which they then subsequently use to build a fantastic product and take it to some of the best enterprises in India. And there's a nice second part to that story, hopefully as well, which I'm sure Vikshit will share. So, Vikshit, do you want to quickly introduce yourself and what you do?
Yeah. Thanks for having me here, Prasanna. Firstly, yeah, we've been running Finly from the past 2.5 years. I manage all of operations and business here at Finly, and a bit of the product as well. So here at Finly, we streamline and automate accounts payables. And before this, I've worked for like four odd years as such, and it was around 8 years back that all of this kickstarted. The whole entrepreneurship process kickstarted around 8 years ago. So I'm right now in Bangalore. I mostly work out of India itself, and yeah, this is where we are at this point in time.
Awesome. So, is Finley your first entrepreneurial journey, or were there different startups in the 8 years before this?
Yeah, so there were different things that we did from 2012. That was when we graduated of college. Around third year of engineering, we start playing around with a lot of apps on the Android App Store, and we saw the opportunity there, right? Because we made like $20,000 by building very simple, silly applications. And back in those days, it was very few applications on the App Store. So we saw the opportunity there, and we didn't put out those apps in terms of trying to make revenue or something like that, but it was just for the purpose of fun, right? These are very silly applications, and we saw the opportunity right there for building these kind of things. What the outcome is, right? And after fourth year engineering, we didn't get placed in campus. So for a year, we were looking for jobs, and while we were standing in queues for mass campus placements and these kind of things, evenings there was nothing to do. We couldn't give interviews, so evening we were working on some
Mm.
other application. So that kind of those 9-10 months of being jobless helped us build a system which generated revenue over the next few years while we worked in jobs. And that saving is what helped us let go of what we were doing in the year 2015.
Amazing. So, how many years worth of salary did you save by doing those startups?
Now, salary didn't help at all. So what happened is, once we joined work, right? Like that particular job that I got as well was through reference. It was not even through interviews, right? So someone referred me, and then I kind of got into that particular job. And
Mhm.
after 1.5 years, I went for Chadar Trek. Right, I got time to reflect on what's been done, and there were multiple reasons why I wasn't interested in doing what I was doing. Right, there were a bunch of reasons. I can dig deeper into that, but the whole process helped me reflect. Of the whole tech process helped me reflect, and I put down my papers as soon as I got back, and I just took a job 3 lanes away from my house, which was paying half of what the first job was paying. So my focus was knowledge gaining and learning, because uh, at the end of the day, on the weekends you might probably max go to a pub or something like that. Like, your expenses are super nil if you cut off even that, right? You just need food and stay. And I was fortunate to be born in Bangalore, and I could do that sitting out of my parents' place. So I took a huge pay cut, And once I joined this job, in 9 months I did everything: coding, hiring, talking to customers. And then after 9 months, I backpacked across Rajasthan, and another zone of reflection that took place. We came back and we put down our papers, and without any idea, without anything, but we just knew that I can't do this anymore. So those savings didn't kind of help at all. Over those years, that application that we have built while we were jobless made enough revenue so that we could take 10,000 rupees per month as salary for the next four years. Right. So that's approximately the saving, and that's what helped us take the leap of faith.
Amazing. So it gave you some comfort that, okay, you know what, I can at least pay for my food and groceries and whatever else that I need to
Yeah,
survive while I build something else.
correct. Basic necessities are going to be fulfilled. Yeah, I don't need to
Who
shop.
do you trek with?
This was my co-founder. Both the techs were with my co-founder Vivek, and one or two other folks. And these one or two other folks were also entrepreneurial in spirit. They had opened up an e-commerce store. So while we were trekking, they were talking about the opportunities that they are facing and things like that, right? And the first trek was more of silence. It's Chadar trek, right? It's a huge stretch of land that you'll have to keep walking, and you're alone for 14 days. Those folks were there around you. You're not going to be talking to them throughout the whole place. But in the Rajasthan trek, we got to talk a lot, and the epiphany happened while we were in the Thar Desert, and we got deeper into how his day-to-day life was very different from our day-to-day life, and that kind of pushed us in this direction.
So when is your next trek planned?
I think probably next year we might be backpacking or trekking, but I think that's
Where? Maybe we should all join you.
yeah, I think that'll be great. A bunch of founders actually trekking and backpacking. There's going to be a lot of exchange of ideas, and it's going to be fun. Yeah,
That'll be fantastic, man. I think we should pick that up for sure.
true, true.
So tell me about the startups that you did before Finley. What were they into, and like what scale did they get to?
Yeah, so before Finley, like 2015, when we quit our jobs, right, we spent a good amount of time, understanding what we're supposed to do. First thing we did is we got in and started building a product. We thought this is an idea, amazing idea. For 9 months, we built like 3 different companies. And during that whole process, Matrix partners met us. And that's when we got to know VCs exist. There is someone who gives you money apart from banks, right? So those 9 months after quitting our jobs, we built three different companies, and none of them survived. From morning to night, we were brainstorming and coding. That's all it was. But then after 9 months, we just took a step back and said that this is not working out, and we had a completely different approach of about going about things. But those 9 months, we built a lot of applications, and then of course the company that we built right after college, right? So Mindfield Labs, and that we weren't aware of the VC ecosystem, and we weren't aware of the market and business to a point where we could take funds and scale it up or bootstrap it to a much larger business. We didn't have that business acumen at all right after
Right.
college.
Understood. And the when did you realize that this is not working out? Was that another trek, or like was that just a conversation? How did that happen? How do you go from we're going to build this and make it work to okay, this is not working?
So we those 9 months we had worked a lot, and we didn't see even a penny coming to the bank account. Once we built the product, we were going to the market. So the approach was totally wrong. During a whole point of reflection, no, there was no trek. We didn't have any funds, so our budget was only 10,000 a month, right? So we couldn't afford a trek, right? So it was only going to
Okay.
the terrace, and going in circles, and understanding the way forward. So during that whole process, what we understood is the most important thing is market. First, we go out there, talk to a lot of people, not sit inside the room. Once you gather information from the market, then you build the business. How do you make money? And then once you understand how to make money, then comes the product, right? So we were doing the other way around: building product, then trying business, and then going to the market. So that whole point of reflection of what happened in the 9 months, we gathered all that information and got this outcome. I understand. Yeah.
Okay. And so now that you had a process which is figure out the problem and the space and how to make money before you build the product, what did you do next? How did you start? Was that then the next thing that you did was Finley?
No, what happened is now it was understanding market, right? So that's the first thing. We were just tech focused. We wanted to apply tech into some domain and build a product. We were not focused saying that we want to solve this particular problem, right? We were open to solving any kind of problem which helped us build a business and we could be passionate about. So what we did is we came up with 5 different ideas. Even
Right.
before building the product, we built pitch decks for each of these ideas. We pushed it out
Mm.
to domain experts for each of these ideas. Each of these ideas were in different domains.
Mm.
One was in fintech, one was in martech, one was in HR tech, and different kind of ideas. Right, one was in B2C.
Right.
So these 5 ideas, we built pitch decks. We spoke to a lot of domain experts and got feedback on the presentations, and we kept refining these presentations, the problems, challenges, and everything. And we spoke to a lot of customers. Right. So there was a complete process. It took us around 9 to 12 months even before getting into Finley. We didn't want to code at all. We were exhausted of coding for nine
Understood.
months and not getting anything out of it. So this 12 months was just a market understanding. Here we learned a
Mm.
lot, like something that we hadn't learned, the kind of different websites that's there to understand how the market is. For example, if I just take a fintech company, I could understand what kind of funding they got, and if at all you go into Crunchbase, you could actually see how they've evolved and who are the investors, why do those investors invest
Right.
money. So a lot of learning happened with these months, and we also send these pitch decks to customers. And the only criteria for us to understand was who's going to give money for that, right? So money for what we are trying to sell. So even before building the product, we had a responsive product via PDF, which we pushed to the customer. And he said he'll pay if the criteria was he has to pay a certain number of money, which we felt is going to be a good business. Only once they give the money, then we start building the product, because we
Wow.
could anyway refund the money, right? Like we wouldn't be going the wrong path that way. So that was the only criteria: who's going to pay us money for what we're going to be doing, right? Like that was kind of the criteria.
That's crazy, man. So what did your first customer pay you?
First customer paid us like 15,000 rupees a month, 1 5. So that kind of made sense for us in terms of like getting, if you get 100 businesses, you can at least have 4 employees working as an organization and continuing things forward, right? So basic necessities and capital is what we're looking at. That's all it is.
Awesome. And how long did that first customer stay
Time,
with you?
at this time, yeah, that was just 3 months. We had to return the money because that wasn't scalable at all. What we are looking to build for him for 15,000 rupees. So it was just about understanding, but it was for Finley itself. It just gave the platform and the basics of what has to be built, which direction we need to go in. So out of those 5 ideas, Finley became more and more certain with these kind of processes.
Understood. Understood. All right. So can you describe a bit about the idea of Finley itself and what is the problem you solve and for who, and you know uh, how did that start?
Yeah, so out of this 5, Finley was one of them, right? One was customer interaction. How do we talk to a lot of finance folks? It was easy to talk to a lot of CAs. They're kind of accessible for all the services that they provide. Then it was talking to the finance people. We had job interviews for finance people, wherein we understood what they're going to be delivering to us. So it was like a JTBD. That's what we understood is the term is, once we had done it in the past. So we were interviewing people to understand what they were doing, and we were, breaking through other products and seeing what they had done to streamline and automate this. So we went through those processes, and we also, in the whole process, connected to Ebix Cash through one of our advisors. And Ebix Cash kind of became the distribution point of view, and the conversations with the finance people got us some domain understanding. It was very minimal before we kicked off, but we understood there's a lot of challenges. Everything was being done in email and Excel. What we understood is finance team just relies on these 2 things apart from the accounting system. So Finley was basically to streamline and automate the payables, right? And out of payables, expense management was the low hanging fruit, because there was a lot of opportunity opening up in automating the way cash transactions are done in business. So the first go-to market was expense management. But right now we are doing accounts payable, which is a much larger, uh, you know, market to cover, and expense management is a small subset of it. But yeah, GTM was expense management.
Understood. So, when you look at your first part of this journey, right, to figure out and get this first customer, get the domain understanding, and all
Hmm.
of that stuff, you were making a lot of decisions,
Yep,
right?
yep,
To do this startup versus that, to do this, solve this problem versus that problem, to go after this ICP versus the other ICP. All of those
yeah.
decisions that when you were making, how, what was your process for making those decisions in a good way?
Yes, first criteria or North Star metric was reaching product market fit, right? But basically something that's repeatable to sell the same product again and again without my involvement or my co-founder's involvement. The business has to run on its own, right? So that's the product market fit that we were looking for.
Okay.
But also in parallel, we had this decision making of revenue, like how do we make money, right? So it depends on which stage you are in. Either you have the North Star metric as product market fit, if at all you have sufficient funds for the next 12 months or 15 months, or you have revenue as a North Star metric, so that once you have at least, like, say, enough money to cover your burn and your partner's burn and one or two employees, then you can figure out things, because capital is very important for the survival of the company. So these were the two metrics which was just deciding everything that we did.
Understood. Uh, so about, I know that a lot of founders get stuck on the decision making.
Okay. Hmm.
They're not able to make decisions quickly. They're not able to make choose between options.
Okay.
Have you seen founders like that? If you've seen founders like that, what would you advise to them in terms of making decisions, better decisions, and making decisions faster?
Yeah, so one thing you need to look at is look at your resources. So once you look at your resources, then you can minimize the number of choices that you have. Right. So if you have, just say, 5 lakh in the bank, and then you want to build 10 things, doesn't make sense. So you just uh, get into survival mode. Once you get into survival mode, your survival instincts will tell you how to make the right decision. So that is something you'll have to look into. Keep looking at your resources. That will help you decide what to invest in to survive.
Understood.
This is during the initial
So,
phase. Then, of course, as you grow up, those criteria will change, right?
okay. So just thinking about the idea discovery and the all of that phase, right? If
Hmm.
you, what would you recommend to founders if they have to find a problem and an idea and a space that is good for
Hmm.
them,
Sure.
right? What should they do from your experience now?
Talk to a lot of advisors and domain experts in the first place. You keep talking to all of them, gather information, and once you gather information, make notes, and reflect on them. Just not keep documenting it, but you got to keep reflecting them on a constant basis. Make people question it. Keep discussing with a lot of people. uh, right. So I think talking a lot to a lot of people about this, and I'm when I'm saying talking and discuss it, absorb all that information in a very objective manner. Don't say that, don't say, no, this is wrong, I think it can be done the other way around. Just absorb all that information, and at that moment in time, you let your emotion not take over whatever you want to respond back to what someone is saying. Just keep collecting information, and keep reading about the domain. Read to an extent wherein we used to read from morning 7 o'clock. We used to get up in the bathroom. We used to read. We used to read while sleeping. If you're standing in a queue, we used to read. So we just used to read. There was nothing else better than reading, right? So reading, talking to people, that's one of the most important things, right? And then gathering this information and reflecting.
Understood. So if you look back in your first like 6 months of the journey and stuff, right? What are some common mistakes that founders make that you would have advice for them? Oh,
Initial common mistakes is hiring someone. Don't hire someone and burn more money till you find something that like uh, that you can that if you're doing something repetitive, for example, right, like which you can offload, and you can focus on something more important that no one else can do. That's the point where you hire someone, right? So don't start hiring. until you find that spot where you really need someone, and that person can be on his own, and you can define a KPI without your involvement. Right, so that is one common mistake that I see. People just hire one or two people, like you don't even know what you're doing, but you just want to hire someone, right? Because you're an employer right now. So that mindset has to be removed first thing. So only once you find the right requirement to hire people, then hire people, because it's just not about you. You're putting someone else's life also in risky zone, right? So hiring is one mistake that you do. I'm saying that we made these mistakes, so
Yeah.
like I wouldn't repeat these mistakes as a whole thought here. So hiring is one thing, and keeping your burn low till your product market fit. Not raising funds till your product market fit, right? Like raising funds before product market fit is like, it's the one of the worst things to do. So
Raise
uh,
zero funds or raise less funds, or how much funds is okay to raise before product market fit, or how much of a how much of a dilution is okay before product market fit?
I think
Is it zero or is it?
like, yeah, I wouldn't say it's a hard and fast rule about zero. You can probably raise at a minimal just for your sustenance for the next 12 months or 24 months. Because if someone puts money into your company, then the skin is in the game, and they will keep providing you with advice and network. There's some kind of help that's going to come from those who are going to be putting in money, right? And these guys would have been in this game for much longer period of time. There's always something to learn from someone who puts in money and believes in you. So you can probably raise some amount of money, and probably dilute like 5% or 7% to the max. If you're seeing a Y Combinator, any of these accelerators, they themselves take that much percentage, right? So I think diluting a minimal amount is totally fine during the initial stages to survive.
Understood. So, who you spoke about the value of mentors, right? Who were
Yeah.
some of the initial mentors who added a lot of value to you? And can you say something specific that one of them helped you with?
Yeah, so the first mentor we had is Satyam Bansal. He was the chief of staff at Flipkart to Sachin Bansal himself. So we met him at TIE conference. So TIE was the only entrepreneurship thing that we knew back in those days that was there, right? Like since then, a lot of things have come out. So we made a list of all the advisors we found in the website. So we used to hunt them down on LinkedIn and see where they're going to be, which conference they're going to be attending. So we pestered a bunch of them. No one took us seriously. So only Satyam took us seriously, and he said, "Okay, I'll spend Saturday morning from this time to this time for the next 4 weeks." Right. So those 4 weeks we built a very good rapport. So like he was the first mentor, and one of the advice or help that he gave us, which always stuck with us and helped us a lot, is don't give equity to anyone who doesn't have skin in the game. Right. Over those next few years, we found a lot of founders, entrepreneurs, executives saying that, hey, do this, do that, do this, do this, and give me advisor equity. But as soon as we ask some, say, give 10 lakh, just at least give 10 lakh, and we'll give you that advisor equity a little bit, and just put 10 lakh. That time they go silent, right? So that his one point was always just ensure that everyone has a skin in the game, right? And even he came in with the same motive. He put in that amount. So that culture and that whole thing, we built a good rap of how he was as a person as well. So that kind of stuck around with us for quite some time, and we always ensure that happens. Yeah.
Nice. And any other mentors from the early days who helped you a lot
Uh,
or
so
throughout?
yeah, like of course, then we were part of Opeka, right? So that was a huge transformational effect for us. The depth into which we went for SaaS, right? That was pretty deep. Like meeting you, Shekhar, Rajan. Those were all executional ideas. Like I could we could speak to you. Next day we could execute it, and then 2-3 months down the line we could see the results. So it was very actionable insights that was being given to us, rather than gyan which is all over the place, and something we can read from somewhere. So that of course helped us a lot, because they were actionable at the end of the day.
Understood. So now let's come to the next stage, right? You built something, you got some customers, right? Then how do you find your first five customers? Is there a process? Is there something you did? How did you get
Mhm.
your first five customers?
Yeah, so it was more through effectuation, I would say. So when we built the expense management system, which was the go-to-market strategy, we were trying to understand what's the best way of getting the 510 customers, because firstly, it's a finance space. You need a trust factor established with your customer profile, and also you need to like it's a tough market to kind of crack. So distribution, as I told you, was the first criteria, right? Not business. So while we went
Right.
out and sold that product for 15,000 rupees, we didn't see how we could keep replicating 15,000 rupees every month with multiple customers. And through Satyam, we got in touch with Cash, and we made a good proposition saying that, hey, you have the card system, we have expense management system, we can merge the two and we can automate uh, much better things in a lot of companies. So it was a mutual benefit for them as well as for us, and they kind of helped us in the good number of introductions, right? So that was a GTM strategy. It was effectuation basically.
Understood. So, folks, for those of you who are joining late, we have Veekshith Rai of Finley. They built a product in the accounts receivable expense management space, and they've had a fantastic journey so far. Veekshith is describing the early part of his journey, and we are now going to move into the later part of the journey. You'll also see a ticket at the bottom saying apply to the UPECA program. Veekshith and Finley were part of the UPECA program, and we helped them with some of the positioning bits and some of the changes to the product, uh, including the strategy and marketing it better and stuff like that. Right. So Veekshith, after the first five customers, right? How did you start building a team then, or were you still not hiring anybody? When did you start hiring people?
Yeah, I started hiring people when we saw something that is repetitive, and I could just load off that repetitive effort to someone else, right? For example, mailing customers for like email campaigns, right? Like once I did it for 4 5 days, I got to know that I just need the dashboard of metrics of what the response rate is for all these emails. I got a marketing person. On the product side, once we had kind of a understanding of what the interaction with ebix cache is on a constant basis to build the prepaid card integration, we documented all of
Mhm.
that and we hired a person to keep this communication going on with ebix cache. So we did all of that work. Once we put it on paper, documented it, then we hired a person to actually do that work. Those were the first set of hires.
Understood.
By the time we reached 5 employees, I think we were around 6 employees in total. 5 customers, we were around 6 employees. Yeah.
Understood. So then, after you hit five customers, right? The journey to five, from five to 10 to 20 to 50 and more. How was
Mhm.
that journey like? Was that different? Like, was it after you got product market fit? How was that?
Yeah, of course, this varies from from the ICP that you have and the ACU of the customer and things like that. 1 to 5 customers was mostly dog fooding the customers, right? It's about stabilizing the product and understanding the crucial features for these guys. It's not about revenue. It's just about getting some money and getting the product stabilized. So it was a combination of those two. 6 to 25 is more of like for us. It was about understanding the challenges of selling our product and understanding how to position it so that we can sell with very less ease. 25 to 50 was like, how do I offload 90% of the work that I'm doing onto someone else and they can sell without my presence. So that was kind of the evolution of how we went about the customers, and at different phases we did each one of these steps.
Got it. So, what were some mistakes that you made in that part of the journey from 5 to 25 to 50 and beyond?
5 to 25 to 50 mistakes, I would say, is uh, even before the product launched, if there was some kind of a feature that's going to be launched, right? We weren't uh, marketing it. We were doing the business selling. So any feature, anything that we're going to be building, we used to show it on PDF, responsive PDF. That was for quite some time. Only once those customers said paid us money, then those features got built, right? So that was the first thing. But we didn't market it, saying that like this feature is coming out. But I think probably that was very much required. Then if customers came and asking for that particular feature, we would have been mixed. But honestly, I can't recollect any kind of mistakes during that process on the business and marketing side. We were like just on it from morning to night, ensuring that mistakes don't happen because we couldn't afford it. We had like probably 8 10 employees and only limited money so we had money for 4 years for me and my co-founder. Now with 8 10 people, it's come down to 12 months, right? So we had to think through each one of these steps carefully. It's living on the edge. Yeah.
Understood. What about hiring mistakes? Did you hire some people who were turned out to be the wrong fit? Because early on, it's very difficult to hire the right people for all the roles, right?
Yeah, culture fit is one of the most important thing, and we made mistakes there. The attitude which they come with. We hired a couple of people from one or two people from MNCs during the initial stage. That's the worst way to go about things. We had a independent house somewhere in BTM with a dining table and laptops over there. But MNCs, they came from air conditioned places with their own coffee machine, right? So the expectations was completely different. So hiring and setting the expectations and getting the right people is very important, because some people, even if they come from MNCs, if they have the right attitude, they will stick around. But there are some people who spread negative energy because of the change that they would have gone through, and they would always be talking about what they gave up in life to actually come here and things like that, right? So culture becomes a very important factor during those initial phases, right? So that was a mistake we made. Couple of mistakes of not scanning through
So what did that
those.
cost you? How long did it take to realize that these people were not a culture fit, and what did that cost you?
The first one costed like probably 4 to 5 months. The next two, three costed like 3 months or 2 months. But our decisions were always pretty quick in those aspects. So, and then after it came down to 2 months and then 1 month, we spent a lot more time in interviewing people so that we don't let go of anyone. Right? So it all came from 5 months to minus.
So you started getting good at figuring out who would be a good fit for your team. So
Yeah, we spent a lot of there were multiple levels of interviews to scan out each one of those things. And even before they joined us to work, we worked with them for 2 3 months while they were serving their notice period or something like that. We found some way to work with them before they joined us. That was one of the things we tried. We did.
so once you had a team and you were growing the team, right? How did you align the entire team in terms of what you're doing? How because you were like you were selling features which are not there. How would you align the team towards building those versus maintaining the older product? Uh, how do you deliver to customers? Like, how was that a little chaotic, and how do you manage that kind of a situation?
Yeah, so till a certain point, if it's like 7 people, 8 people, it's all manageable. But after a certain point, one of the best learnings we had was through Payka itself, which was Wadley Map. That kind of streamlined and gave a very definite, actionable for every department within the organization and every person, right? So it streamlined the marketing team, the sales team, and the product engineering team, and the customer success team. So Wadley Map was a framework which really helped us in establishing that.
Okay, so there is a Wadley Map use case edition. It's happening on November 23rd. I will send you
Okay.
the link. Maybe you should try to get a speaker slot there
Yeah,
and
sure, sure.
explain this. It's
Yeah,
all for practitioners who are doing this stuff.
I'm sorry. I
It's all for
lost you there.
practitioners who are using Wadley Maps to do stuff. So
Okay,
it's not
got it.
academic.
Yeah, got it.
So
Yeah,
we could
that's
put
a
that
much.
there.
Yeah, it's actionable. That's the best part about Wadley Map, right? So it's actionable from day one.
So let's talk about your best customer so far. Uh, who was your best customer so far? You don't have to name names, but in what kind of segment or whatever. Why were they a good customer for you? How did you find them, or how did they find you? Right, and what kind of a testimonial did you get from them?
So what would you define as a best customer? Someone who's paying you well, or someone who's
I mean,
you know
you pick. What's the best customer for you? That's why I'm asking you, because different founders have different definitions of best customers as well, right? So I'm interested in knowing, what is your definition of a best customer?
Yeah, so best customer in our case was a very large unicorn startup, and similarly trickling down to many other startups, because they understand the pain of having limited resources, and there's going to be a lot of chaos in those companies. We are going to be very flexible, and they're going to be very flexible, and they understand technology. We understand. We are core tech. So the best customers have always been focused companies, and plus additionally startups on top of that. right? So those have been the best of customers. One of the best testimonials came through in a more of uh, different way towards us. We got a call one day at 11 a.m. and the leadership team person was like, "Hey, there are like 170 people on the floor not doing anything, just going to the pantry and chilling out." And we asked them why they are, not doing anything. They said Findy is down, so there's nothing to do. So that was one of the in so for me, of course,
That's
was
crazy.
immediate action was to understand what's going on, and there was a migration in server that was happening, which was very critical as such. So that was the reason for what was happening. But at the same time, it really showed that, like, number of people who are working throughout the day, and it's on our system. So it kind of came in that way. Yeah.
Amazing. So,
Yeah.
I'm not sure that's a testimonial, but at least that's a testament to
It's a
your
testament.
product working really well, for
True,
sure,
true, true.
right? So I think, one of the challenges from a SaaS perspective, right, is that customer success, customer support, expansion revenue is very, very critical.
Sure, sure.
So how did you guys do on that front, and how did you evolve that thought process over time? Was it through multiple lines of products? Like, what was the evolution of the thought process for you?
So initial days, customer success and support was kind of the lowest priority, because it was about acquiring as many customers as possible, and those who left because they didn't find this critical enough, or there was an alternative for what we were building. So if, say, we got 5 customers or 10 customers, if 7 left, then those 3 remaining will be telling you exactly why they are sticking on with you, right? And the reason why they're sticking on with us, we wanted the answer as this part of the product which is helping us sticking on, not because we are always responsive on the calls. Because how can we have 100 customers and have hundreds of people responding to calls, which is why we are having a USP. So our initial phase, customer acquisition was the key thing. Customer support and success was kind of low, so that helped us mature the product. As we reached a certain revenue scale, and we started seeing, we always removed customers, or rather let go of customers which was bad revenue, right? So we even help them pick the right product for them, so that it's not it's a focus, it's a right focus for both the customers on their vision, customer and ourselves as a vision. So that was one aspect. And over course of time, we started using generic tools, your Intercom, your Gainsight. We adopted Gainsight a year ago, and then Zoho Desk, right? So a bunch of very like all the products, nothing innovative we did. We just adopted what's there. There are amazing SaaS products on the customer success and customer support side. That's not a key at all, right? We just adopted the good SaaS products out there to make it better for us.
And how
And
did
and
your retention and your sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so the whole idea was protecting these customers to become profitable after that certain point with these products.
Understood. And what kind of expansion have you seen with customers? Can you just give me, like, what would a starting ACV be with you, and then where have they, how much have they grown?
Yeah, we've seen customers starting from $5,000 ACV to $60,000 ACV. So that's because we have multiple modules. Like, for example, from expense management, we built invoice to pay. From invoice to pay, we built purchase management system. So the whole gamut of accounts payable and spend management is what we built over the course of time. And there was a upsell strategy for each one of these products. So there's 5 customers or 10 customers who remained with us, started asking for things which helped us build those next set of modules, wherein they paid for the expense management and then they ended up paying for the next set of modules, right? So we started building an upsell plan, which helped us acquire a customer for say $10,000, and then it scaled up to 4x, 5x minimum. So there was a clear cut plan for that.
Amazing. And over what time frame would this expansion be in? Would it be 12 months, 18 months, 24 months? Like, what kind of a cycle for this
Yeah, so
4x, 5x
generally
kind of an expansion?
the 4x 5x takes at least 1 year, right? So 12 months to 13 months, because they would have gone through an entire cycle of a financial year or something like that, and they would have multiple folks across the company would have experienced the product. And accounting integration is one of the key things that we provide. We integrate with your Oracle or any of these systems. So that integration is has a dependency on the customer also to reciprocate and give us the APIs, or any of these things, right, to help us integrate. So that used to take 6 7 months. Once the accounting integration is done, they know that we are really good at what we are doing. So once they adopt the other products, they see the value proposition because of these integrations and other things in place. So it takes a year.
Awesome.
But so now what we're doing is we are focusing on reducing the amount of effort and time that takes on the accounting integration, so that we can uh, show them value much faster, and they can buy the products much other products much sooner.
Amazing. So, you guys were serial entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah.
And Finley is doing well. If you were to start again today, knowing what you know with this 8 years of entrepreneurial journey, what are
Hmm.
things that you would do differently?
At a certain point, we would put a lot of other basic building blocks across the organization, like an administrator. For example, an admin to just look after all the assets across your company, postages, a lot of these operational work, right? I reflected on my couple after a couple of years that I spent at least 20% of my time on these kind of things, 20 30% of my time getting a stamp done, like a lot of work that could have that assembles to one particular job description, similar to that HR person, right? And these are resources that don't cost you much during the initial days, and they take care of a lot of things: your offer letter, your pay slips, all these things are streamlined for your set of employees. They are much feeling much better. A good finance person who coordinates with your CA, company secretary, getting the right CA and the CS, of course. So all these basic building blocks, right? I would have put it in place within the first 4 5 months, so that it doesn't eat up any of my time and everything is very clean, right? The second thing I would have done is having board meetings. So what board meetings on a regular basis, every 2 months or 3 months, it helps you record the history of the company and every decision that you have taken. Right. So board meetings is it's a formality for most companies at this point in time, what I see. But it's not actually. It's just a history of what you've done as an organization, which is recorded in the. It's like Google government's own Google Drive for what we are doing. So they just record everything that's happening. It's a good from compliance angle as well, and it's a good healthy process to get together and look at things in a very logical, rational manner on a regular basis. And the other things, of course, hiring, as I mentioned, there's a lot of mistakes that we did. There's a lot of learning that's gone. So yeah, three things. Those are three,
Awesome.
four things. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So, you had done multiple startups, and you had mentors like Satyam Bansal and others. What made you feel like you should join Upeka, and why did you join Upeka?
Yeah, so we met yourself and Rajan and Shekhar even before we applied for the program, right? And every interaction that we had with you, like some 3 4 meetings before we applied for it fully, were very actionable insights of what has to be done next. And we could go back, and as I told you, we could see the results of what we're learning from you, and everything that we learned from you or Rajan and all was something new. We couldn't find it from all those books that we have read so far or videos that we've watched so far. So everything was new. So and we are always interested in working with someone we can learn from, be it advisors or employers or anyone. So that was one of the main decision making criteria. The other thing is, the culture, the kind of people Rajan or Shekhar or you are like, it's so founder focused, uh, and it could be seen in every action and the words that you guys had while we met you. And we always want to tie up with people who are kind, nice, and intelligent at the same time. So that was kind of couple of decision making criteria for going ahead with the pick.
Awesome. So, what was like the highest high in this journey for you, and what was like the lowest low in the journey?
Highest high was one of the highest high was when we raised when we were almost running out of money. Just a week before the money was going to dry up, we could raise a couple of a good certain number of funding, which helped us survive for another 15 months, right? So, and these were all prominent investors like Social Capital in the US and Angel List and a good brand of investors. So that was kind of the highest high. But we kind of, I personally didn't fly high or anything like that on that, because again, any of those highs just stay for probably days, weeks, or maximum month or two. Then after that, you're back. You know where you are at this point in time. So I just uh, take a snapshot of that memory, and during my lowest lows, I recollect those snapshots of at the highest high, which didn't stay for long, and the lowest lows also won't stay for long. Is the whole thought process. So during the lowest lows, there were multiple. Like it's kind of a roller coaster. Highest highs keep happening, lowest lows keep happening, but both don't stay for long, uh, right? So that's how it is. Yeah.
So how do you personally manage with your lows and highs? What do you do when you're low? You go for a trek. What do you do?
Yeah, lowest lows, more of like, pause and stay silent and don't react to any of it. There'll be a lot of thoughts and negative things, but during the lowest lows, just don't react to it, because it's the monkey mind in us which is doing all of that. It's not, we have no control on it. Like you do more harm to yourself through your mind than what's actually happening out there, right? You still have the food and shelter and bed back home. The lowest lows is not like getting some disease, and those are the lowest lows, I could say. So that kind of lowest low, fortunately, I have not met, and we are more fortunate than probably 85-90% of the world. So I think it's not taken me to that level at this point.
So Veekshith, how old are you now?
I'm 31. Yeah.
31. Okay. So if you met the 21-year-old Veekshith,
Hmm.
what would you suggest? What would you tell him?
I have spent every month's salary on Bitcoin. Every month's salary savings in Bitcoin.
All right. So
Yeah.
you hold substantial Bitcoin now, or
No,
too late for that?
unfortunately, I couldn't. Yeah, it was too late by the time this thing. I could have become a VC with all that Bitcoin I held right now if I invested back in those days. Yeah.
But let's say your 21-year-old is now, right?
Okay. Okay.
Uh, not 10 years ago.
Okay. Okay.
So
Now in 20.
what would you suggest?
Okay.
21.
Seek knowledge. That's the most important thing. See, like even now, I see a lot of folks. They see brand names and they join companies. Oh, Google, Facebook. Like you're just you vanish from there. Nothing changes in those companies, right? So like you be part of something wherein your contribution is so important that if you're not there, things are not going to work the same way. So find those kind of positions out there, which is what I did in the second company that I joined when I left the first one. So be a part of something wherein you're very important and you're adding something that no one else can add value as. So that's the most important thing. Money will follow, of course. That's it. Yeah.
Understood. All right. What do you? I know you read quite a bit. So what are some 3 book recommendations that you have for folks?
3 book recommendations, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
For those who are starting with the start, like who's starting up, Eric Rice and a bunch of these books are a must read. Those attraction and these kind of things, right? So it's the normal go to books. But otherwise speaking, Fountainhead is one of them. I highly recommend for entrepreneurs because it's got a very objective view of things, and Howard Rock, the protagonist, has a point of view of just doing what he really wants to do. Probably you might not want to absorb everything that's in the book, but it's just on a high level, it's a good book and has got a good amount of influence. Uh, the other thing is, I read a lot of sci-fi books. So from iRobo to all of Isaac Asimov books, right? So Clark, Arthur C. Clarke. So I would suggest reading sci-fi books like iRobo and Foundation series, because that kind of gives you a view of where the world is headed towards. Everything that's happening around in the world, from SpaceX to metaverse to everything that you're seeing, has already been spoken about in those books, right? So it kind of gives you a picture of where the world is moving and how obsolete a lot of things around you are and where you can innovate. And the third book would be certain things like Crime and Punishment and those kind of books, like few others books, because
Dostoevsky. Hmm.
yeah, Dostoevsky's book, because it kind of shows that you can just live with uh, little rice and some clothes and shelter. So it'll keep you grounded there. So yeah.
Amazing. So let's check if we have any questions. Yusuf, team, do we have any questions? Let's just check the chat if there are any questions here. Do you have any questions for me, Veekshith? While we wait, if there are any other questions,
Yeah,
or do you
questions
have
for you.
anything else that you want to add?
Yeah, like where do you see what you're going to be doing in the next 10 years with Upeka? Like, where do you see Upeka in the next 10 years?
So, I mean, just a quick intro about Upeka might help, right? So, at
Yeah.
Upeka, we help B2B SaaS startups grow faster. We
Yeah.
help founders build what we call value SaaS companies, which means something that Veekshit said already: don't raise too much capital before product market fit. Don't increase your burn too much before you understand how to generate revenues. Don't hire people before you know what they will do. Focus on delivering value to a certain set of customers. Build domain expertise. All of these things are stuff that we help founders with. And I think we've just started on that journey. What I tell people is that in a 1991 there were 200 IT services companies in India doing about $200 million of exports, or $100 million of exports. And by 2002 we had 8,000 companies doing $12 billion of exports in IT services, right? In just 12
Yeah.
years, we had done a 120x growth from
Sure.
a revenue standpoint, and almost 400x growth in number of companies, right? And so when we look at that, I think we are in the very early stage of that growth in B2B SaaS. There are thousands and thousands of founders who might be domain experts. Maybe they are already domain experts in those spaces and they want to build products for those spaces. And as you said, domain expertise is key in solving the right problems, right? Or they may have built other products before and they want to, in larger companies or otherwise, and now they're becoming entrepreneurs and trying to figure out how do I be a better entrepreneur, right?
Sure.
And there are lots of folks who want to build capital efficient businesses. So we want to
Mm.
help all of these folks build capital efficiently so that a large chunk of the equity stays with founders and employees, and the
Yeah.
business can stay focused on delivering value to customers
Sure.
rather than looking for an exit. So 10 years from now, I hope to have helped a few thousand entrepreneurs get to scale
Correct.
in their businesses, revenue scale in their
Mm.
businesses, hopefully $1 million or a few $1 million of revenue each. And some of those folks would have gone on to build very large businesses in the
Yeah.
hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue. What the
Mm. Mm.
valuation will be is anybody's guess.
Yeah.
Valuation multiples being what they are, right? But I think if we will continue to work with early stage B2B founders, both B2B SaaS founders and B2B marketplaces, and help them get that initial problem, that initial positioning, initial value to the customer right. Because if
Correct.
that is solved, then a lot of the other stuff can be figured out. But if that
True.
initial problem, that initial value, that initial customer segment is not well sorted, then it's
Yeah.
very difficult to scale after that. Right?
That's true.
I think we
Yeah.
have a question from Parveen Yadav. Should you focus on pricing during the MVP stage or focus on getting more customers and more feedback? You want to take that?
Yeah, during the MVP stage, pricing doesn't matter, but someone is willing to give you the money is what matters. It can be 5,000 or 10,000 or 15,000, whatever it is. Ensure that they give you money for what you do, and that money should be substantial. If it's a B2B company, even if they want to release 5,000 rupees or 10,000 rupees, right, there's multiple levels of processes involved. So that will help you understand whether there is only this one person who's talking to you, or there are multiple other people who feel important. Your product is very important. Size of the company is important. So if you're getting that 5,000 rupees again from a 10 employee company, 15 employee company, that doesn't make sense, right? So there are a lot of 10 employee, 15 employee companies, but they also 70 to 80% of them might die out. So that is one part of it. Can you help me the second part of the question? So pricing, of course, I answered that bit.
So it's pricing only. Is it, should you focus on getting more customers and getting more feedback from them, or just focus on the pricing?
Yeah, so as I said, pricing plays a role of whom you're getting it from and how much you're getting, and it's about how many. It's about always constantly getting customers in the next a couple of months to get feedback from them. Right, it's a combination of three.
Right. So for my part, I would plug this book, right? It's called Monetizing Innovation. It is by Madhavan Ramanujan and his colleague, right? It's a fantastic book. It helps you think about pricing in a very strategic way. And in my opinion, pricing is super important. Right? Not the actual price that you charge, that is not as important. But the thought process about pricing, which Veekshith spoke about briefly, is are they paying for value? Right? And so if that value is not there, then they obviously will not pay you. And you want to make sure that you're delivering a lot of value to the customer so that you can charge them enough. So very common
Sure.
mistake that founders make is that they just focus on the latter part, which is just get more customers, get more customers, get more customers, without seeing whether, hey, am I delivering actual value for which an actual customer is paying me? They may be paying less today, but they're ready to pay more tomorrow if I do more, or if we build out more modules, and so on and so forth, right? So that expandability of pricing is very critical in a SaaS perspective. And so you want to be able to get in at a certain price point. You want to be able to stick with the customer for a long time, where they're paying you at least that much over time. And ideally, you want that pricing to grow with you over time and grow with the customer over time, so that that customer who pays you $1,000 at some point is paying you thousands of dollars more at other points, right? And I think we also have some videos on pricing. I think the team will share that as well. Awesome. So we're almost at the end, Veekshith. So I have one more question here. If you were not a SaaS founder, what would
Yeah.
you be doing?
So I'd actually be working for say a leader whom someone I can learn from. So I would uh, like probably it's a 50 employee company wherein I'm directly working with the entrepreneur there and reporting to that person and adding enough value. As I said, that's the most important thing for me, when I can learn and add a lot of value, and if I should be replaceable in that particular company. So I'm totally going to be okay with working anywhere. It's just that it depends on whom I'm going to be reporting to.
Understood. All right.
Yeah.
So we'll wrap up. We're almost out of time. Thanks for joining, Veekshith, and thanks for all the candid answers that you gave. Best of
Yeah.
luck with the rest of your journey at Finley.
Yeah. Thanks a lot,
Bye.
Prasanna. Thank you for having me here. Bye bye.